This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
It's time to make sports betting in Minnesota legal. It's a win-win-win. A win for consumers, a win for youth sports, a win for charities. Consumers would have more protection against offshore unregulated websites. Revenue would stay in Minnesota and be invested in youth sports and provide a tax cut for charities. Legalizing sports betting has bipartisan support, as well as support from Minnesota's tribes and horse tracks. Let your legislators know the time for waiting is over, and join 39 other states in protecting consumers, ensuring age verification, and benefiting Minnesota. Visit sportsbettingalliance.org to learn more. Prepared and paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Wasabi Technologies is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from those old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams around the world. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, Wasabi is driving innovation in data storage, all for up to 80% less than those other guys. Try them out for free at wasabi.com.
And
meeting. That's why we're a little bit late here to resume the program. Trying to make sure, trying to find out, first of all, if the Wolves plane has landed, and then trying to reach out to Tim Connelly, who said he would be willing to join once they landed. I'm going to pass along to Connelly. Here is the hotline number for you. I'll just say number because I don't want to make this a Wagnerian opera. And I'm going to do one of the hotlines, the one I know. I'm not going to say it on air because that would not be good, would it?
It's a good idea.
People have done that before, and it's not turned out well. So I'll mention it. So at least he's got that information. Wolves plane was scheduled to land about 4:30. Looks a little murky out there, but who knows? Sometimes planes are delayed a little bit. And as I said, I thought I read... where was it? I thought I read, might have even been the Strib, that if Golden State knocks the Rockets out tomorrow night, because that game, next game is in
San Francisco.
Yep.
That
the series, the Wolves-Warriors would start Monday night here in Minnesota. We know we'd be the home team, but that it would start that fast, which I don't know if that's confirmed. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And
that's true.
The beauty of it now is the obvious, which is you don't have to get nervous about me talking about the matchup because the Wolves have indeed wrapped up round one, and we can get into the game of who would you rather play? And I think, do I want the story or do I want the best chance the Wolves have to advance? If I want the story...
It's obvious.
It's kind of obvious because of, who Golden State has, what they represent, right? That doesn't seem all that difficult.
Right.
He said, just landed, give me 10 minutes. So he's going to call in about 10 minutes. So, on the other hand, I really think the potential for, shall we say, some tense moments, some battles on the court, I'm not going to root for fisticuffs, but for some extracurricular activity.
It's going to be messy.
With Houston.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of chippy.
Very chippy.
I mean, they got into it with backups last night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they got the guy, who's the guy from Memphis that is now a big part of the team? Dylan Brooks, are you kidding me?
And they're doing like an investigation now on if Dylan is actively targeting Steph Curry's injured right thumb as he's going to contest shots.
Yes.
First of all, the thumb does not look good.
That's another reason to think that the Warriors might be a little bit more vulnerable than they ordinarily would be.
Well, especially if Dylan Brooks is trying to,
wrench it out of the socket.
Go Galooly on the hand.
Right. Which he's capable.
Because they asked him about it, and he didn't deny it.
Did you see the little confrontation between at the free throw line between Brooks and Butler?
Yes, from earlier in the series.
Earlier in the series, where Butler could be heard, if you read lips, to say a couple of not nice things.
Yep.
And the Brooks reaction is classic Brooks. Almost like he does a double take, like, what? And then he sort of like comprehends what he's saying, and then he just starts laughing. Which is and he's a good player. He's annoying. He's capable of being chippy. I think that series would be chippier than the Warriors. The Warriors has the obvious star power. And if you love this notion that how many superstar dragons can Anthony Edwards slay
exactly
at a young age before he hits the age of 25 years old, then you're rooting for, let's see if we can see who we've taken out already. He took out Durant, and who's the Suns guard?
We're thinking about Booker. Devin Booker.
Took them out first round, right? Took out Joker
yep.
and Murray in round 2. He took out Luka, who took him out a year ago, along with LeBron. And now, on top of that, he's going to take out Steph.
Before his 24th birthday.
Buckets.
Yeah.
Hated here, along with another guy we love to hate, especially because of his mocking of Rudy Gobert, Day Green. So I think you can't go wrong from a story standpoint either way. I believe the Wolves would have an easier time with Houston because I think Houston's problem is well established. They're gritty, they're big, they're rangy, they're a pain in the neck, but they have scoring issues. I just think we would be so much better offensively where, well, as long as we don't try to throw up 75 three-pointers,
yep.
We can score. We got a lot more established offense than they do, a lot more diversified offense that they do. That's why all the talk this season was, well, they're going to go out and try to get Durant next year if their run doesn't go very well because they know they need another score and maybe a little bit more age to go with it too. So we shall see. But I think either way, it is an interesting matchup. And I mean, you could say, well, do you really rather play Houston? Because we don't have home ice with Houston.
Right.
They would be the home court team. I don't think that would matter that much in that series. But if you're playing Golden State, you finished ahead of them, obviously, so you would have games 1 and 2 here.
I think I'm buying into the storylines. I think it would be outstanding to knock the Warriors out or have that opportunity.
It would be great. And I will tell you today that I do think, and it'll be interesting to get Sam Mitchell's view on this. Now, Mitchell picked the Wolves to beat the Lakers. Last year, he picked the Wolves to beat Denver, but he also picked the Wolves to beat Dallas, if you recall, on the show.
Yeah.
And so, he's got a pretty good batting average in that regard. But I'll be curious. I think, again, with Golden State, they're going to have some problems with the Wolves' size. And on the other hand, who's more wily than Steph?
Nobody.
Who knows how? I mean, they've got for one team, they've got 3 of the smartest players you'll ever see, right? Who know how to play off each other, who know how to work. And I think to a certain extent, too, Golden State probably feels like, well, we're playing off of house money anyway. Let's just kind of keep going after it and see, how far we can carry it. So, what do we do? Do I break again at 57? Or is that getting too far ahead? Okay, because I know we got ahead. Hopefully, Tim Connelly, I think he said the team plane just landed. And then he will give us a call, I hope, on the hotline. And then at some point, I'm hoping not too far down the road, Mitchell is going to join us as well. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open at 64686. We're out today at 6:10. Wild game's early for once, right? 6:30 tap.
Yes, I think it'll be closer to 6:40, but pregame show starts at 6:15.
Game we have to win. We are down now officially 3-2. Who's doing Let's Play Hockey tonight? Did they make it special when we get to the postseason? Is it some big, huge name?
I feel like it's Kevin O'Connell.
Is it KOC
Yeah,
tonight?
I think I saw a PA tweet about that.
Is that right?
Let me double check. Yes.
The plot thickens.
It's Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell doing Let's Play Hockey. Somebody had a great idea. It should be Rudy. They should bring Rudy over there tonight.
That's not a bad thought. That's a great idea.
But he's, been gone for a couple of days.
Yeah, he may not be. You might want to just go home and go to sleep.
Exactly. Not interested in it. But Kevin O'Connell tonight.
He's got a new kid, doesn't he? I think.
Rudy?
Relatively new. I thought so.
About a year ago, right?
Was it a year ago? Okay. Yeah, okay.
Julius Randle has a brand new daughter.
That's true.
Like 2-3 weeks old.
That's very, very true, Davey. Yeah, I mean, again, here's what bothers me about some of the Rudy stuff. Even the people, like the Shaq bit last night. I know some of it was a bit. He started gagging before he said
Rudy's dominating.
Yep. But it comes off for me as even now as allegedly they're trying to acknowledge a terrific performance, 27 points and 24 boards, as awfully patronizing, doesn't it? It really does.
Oh yeah.
It's all kind of like we'll pat you on the head because we have to, but we don't really believe it. And again, I will say that after 4 very disappointing games offensively, because one of the storylines the last quarter of the season was what? They had reintegrated.
He was playing great.
Rudy into the conversation again. Had they not?
He was routinely scoring 20 points.
He was a factor. And that's hard to sustain every single game, but it was disturbing the degree to which he was not a factor the first 4. 14 points I said total the first 4 games. And
it was messy and sloppy.
It was.
He was fumbling the ball. Yeah. All that stuff.
Fortunately for them, they had enough other good stuff going offensively that it didn't matter. And that, again, let's remember, in games 3 and 4, down the stretch to the big substitution in the last 4 minutes in both cases, Rudy came out and Naz Reid came in and had in at least one of those games, several of those games actually, terrific offensive contribution to the team. So it's the Wolves don't always have to have it from him, but given the percentage where most of the time if he shoots, he's going to score because it's a dunk, that does wonderful things to your overall shooting percentage, right? Well, from 2 points.
Yes.
From 3 points, as we talked about earlier, not so good. By the way, has anybody gotten Jackson Hayes to speak? Has anybody tried to ask Jackson Hayes how he feels about basically being banished? And again, I'm not going to turn him into a martyr. He's not a great player, but...
Well, in Game 4, he got immediate fouls.
Didn't he get he got a technical foul early.
Right away.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. Then he's walking back to the bench, and he starts chirping at a fan that was sitting one section over from me.
So is that what it was with the head coach? Like he got mad at him?
Maybe.
It's annoying, but you can't cut your nose to spite your face. Because, again, whatever his intent was with the lineup he went in Game 5, there's never been, I should say never, rarely has there been a better case of coaching malpractice, because it literally left, I believe, Rudy Gobert with no choice but to dominate. There was literally no one close to being big enough to him. And by the way, they went to that zone, and the Wolves carved that up. That was a disaster. And the only mistake, as we both saw and many others did too, was what have we said this entire series? They've got especially when they don't play Hayes, you've got no, rim protection. None. Zero. Go to the basket. Nobody can stop Ant from doing it. Nobody can stop Randall from doing it. Nobody can stop DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, anybody from doing it. And yet we got really stubborn about even coming out of the break. That was the worst stretch, as you said, starting the third quarter. 3-pointer after 3-pointer after 3-pointer. And it's why if the Wolves hadn't won the game, I think I would be pounding them today and say, well, you that game shouldn't have even been close. It wouldn't have even been close. And Because then you worry in that sort of situation. What if the Lakers hit a couple of crazy shots down the stretch, right? To tilt it. It was close enough. Basically, it was, a 3 or 4 point game?
It was.
For like 4 minutes to go again. But again, in the end, the fourth quarter numbers tilted dramatically every game in this series. And that in favor of the Wolves. And that, too, is a great sign of progress because we tend to think, well, that's what the other good teams do, right? The other good teams, when it is winning time, they get to the fourth quarter and they take over. And we're kind of left with nothing to do about it. Did you see the Magic Johnson tweet today?
Not today, no.
Magic.
I saw him predicting victory yesterday.
Magic said basically that the Lakers lost mainly. We congratulated the Wolves. He did try to take the high road. And then he said the Lakers lost because their defense was terrible. And then somebody pointed out, responding to that tweet, Magic, you're the guy who traded... Who's the Clipper center? Zubats.
Oh, yeah.
For, who was the player? A meaningless journeyman.
Mike Muscala.
Muscala, that's it.
I think he's local angle.
Yeah. He is. I said, Magic, you're the guy who traded away Zubats for Muscala. How good would the Lakers be if they had him? And I'm assuming that's accurate. I don't know. But that's always the danger if you're Magic. And because you have your own track record, right, as an executive. With the Lakers where some things did not go particularly well. If you have questions for Tim Connelly and or Sam Mitchell, in fact, I think the hotline's ringing right now, please hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. That's 64686, and we'll try to include all of that in the conversation. And later in the 5, Sam Mitchell and a brief hit with Russo Radio. He's going to join us from the X. Brought little past 6 o'clock, and we are out early today because Wild game is scheduled to start tonight sometime around 6:40. So the pregame show, the Wild pregame show with Fallness, will begin probably about 6:10, 6:15 or so, and we'll find out exactly whether the Wild will be able to keep their own postseason hopes afloat. Wolves have just landed a few minutes ago. Tim Connelly kind enough to give us a minute or two via the Bradshaw and Bryant, I should say the what's our hotline? Connecticut Water System. I got too many sponsors. That's my problem.
We're making too much money.
That's what it is. Speaking of making money, you realize every time the Wolves win a playoff series, that the next Tim Connelly contract, another $1 million is added to it. Is that about? Do I have about the right quotient there? Every time your team wins another playoff series, you're going to get an extra $1 million in your next contract.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty close. Yeah, I think you're dead on.
Pretty close. So congratulations, first of all. Welcome back to the Twin Cities.
Thank you.
Are you a big the night of? I know this is just first round. You have higher aspirations, but it was a nice victory, obviously. Nice circumstance to be in. So are you much of a celebration guy? Go get a drink, go get something to eat, go back to the room, hang out? Or what's the Tim Connelly approach? Or what was it last night in La La Land?
I think win or lose, you got to get something to eat, maybe a couple beers. So there's a pizza place I go to in Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Obviously a lot more fun when you win, but yes. Yeah, had a couple beers, had way too much pizza.
It's okay.
Almost got the brownie a la mode. Almost leaned in and thought better of it. But,
live a little.
It was a fun night.
Come on. Well, maybe if that had been second round, maybe you would have. Right? You got to
the problem is after the loss there, I think game 2, I did that, and it was a rough night.
That explains it. Okay, there you go. That's it. All right. So from your perspective, what if you were working as an analyst, a national analyst, sort of sizing up the series, and you're ranking the prioritizing the reasons you think the Wolves were able to do the damage they were, and ultimately not just win the series, but win it in 5 games. What's at the top of the Tim Connelly list?
I think our coaches did a great job with the strategic approach. I think we're really proud of our depth. We have 8 guys that could start. We kind of view our team as having 8 starters. And the Lakers are a heck of a team, and obviously the most storied franchise just about in any league. But we were, I think our depth helped. And every game was kind of neat. We saw different guys step up. Rudy had some ho-hum games early on statistically, but made a huge impact defensively. Then last night, it was just fantastic. So it was a real team effort, and it was led by Finch and his great staff.
How satisfying is it? I have to believe being in an arena like that with all the beautiful people who, to a certain extent, I think wanted to believe that the Lakers were anointed, and you silenced them. You utterly and completely, your team sort of just takes the life out of the whole deal, just ruins the party. That's got to be satisfying.
Well, it's a need as a fan. You and I have talked about this. I mean, I have very fortunate to have this job, but I'm ultimately just a kind of a basketball nerd. And it's the Lakers. It's LeBron James, the best or second best player of all time, and obviously Luka's amazing. So it's really neat to be able to compete against those guys, and certainly it's cool to win on their home court. And it's become really neat the last couple of years to see how many Wolves fans we have on the road, and it's awesome. As the game has less seconds, it look like we're going to win the game. You hear the "Let's go Wolves," and it's really special. So for all those reasons, it was awesome. But anytime you play the Lakers, it's a bit more special, I would say.
It is. I assume when you're trying to put the whole thing together, you have to feel like the one thing you guys seem to be exhibiting is an ability to play a lot of different ways. That because of the combination of players that you have in your rotation on the roster, the old deal of playing big or playing small, whatever, that you can play a lot of different ways. So are you conscious of that, all along? Has it just sort of evolved that way? And how important do you think is that to any team that wants to make a playoff run?
Yeah, you're trying to ensure your roster has positional versatility. Guys can play up and down. And I think ideally, too, you want to ensure that the pieces are complementary. So you can have one position guys that are surrounded by guys that can guard more than one position. So you don't want to have too many guys that can only play on one side of the court. I think what's really cool about what our coaches have done is we have a ton of two-way players. Guys, I don't think there's anybody you can really pick on defensively. Mike's a really good defensive player. He's not the biggest, and he's a little bit long in the tooth, but he's a fighter, and he's tough, and he really takes the challenge defensively. So I think as the postseason progresses, the less guys you have that can kind of really be targeted, the better off you are.
The fourth quarter production in this series, that was the mismatch, right? The stat I saw today, which you may or may not be aware of, is that I think for the first time, basically, the percentage of points in this series that the Lakers scored in the fourth quarter was the lowest. It was like 16% of their total point total, the lowest in the history of the NBA playoffs. You beat them in every fourth quarter. What's that about? What do you think was the key to when it gets to whatever you want to call it, clutch time, winning time, especially for a team that, as you know, your team in the regular season had struggled sometimes down the stretch of games. You guys won basically every fourth quarter, sometimes decisively.
Yeah, it's so funny. If you were to tell me that prior to the start of the series that we're going to shoot what we shot from beyond the arc, or we're going to dominate fourth quarters, I wouldn't have believed you. We've had very well publicized struggles in the fourth and clutch, and we've been a really good shooting team all year. So it's again a real testament to Finchy and his staff that even though the shots weren't falling, I think we were in the right place on both ends. Anthony was fantastic. Julius was fantastic. We didn't turn the ball over. That's been a real problem late game. So there was a maturity that we saw that we didn't always see in the regular season. So again, just a really well-designed game plan by our coaches and our players. Keep growing up. I mean, we forget about how young Anthony is, how young Jaden are. But they have so much playoff experience. You can see them getting better and better with each game.
Well, and one of the things you and I have talked about regarding Edwards is with the ball being in his hands as much as it is, the next part of the evolving is managing the game, right? It's not just we know he can score, we know what he can do there, but making the right read, right? Making the right decision. How much progress do you think he made in that area in this series? Where is he in terms of his development there?
I think he was tremendous. Finchy's always on him. You don't always have to go for the knockout blow.
Yep.
You can get you can keep jabbing your opponent, and sometimes you can win that way. He's got tremendous faith and trust in his teammates, and he's such a positive teammate. So I think he was really good at making quicker decisions in this series, getting off it early, trusting it was going to go from good shot to better shot. And last night, he struggled from beyond the arc, as we all did. But he was living in the paint. We got in the penalty early in the fourth, which was really beneficial. And then I think the ability of not just Anthony, but Julius, two guys that can get their shot pretty much in any man situation is a real luxury to have in today's NBA. So super fortunate we have both those guys. Again, Finch and his staff were fantastic, and Anthony keeps getting better and better. He really wants to be one of the best to ever do it, and series like this is part of that path. From the Barca, I'm like a lot of Wolves fans. I'm yelling at the TV that you guys are tempting the basketball gods by continuing to fling up 3-pointers on a night where they're not going in. And in a series in which I, from the beginning, said, get downhill. They can't stop you. They don't have the rim protection. You have guys who can break them down, get to the basket, put the pressure on their defense that way. And even in Game 5, when you did go to the basket, I think you were largely successful. Are you thinking the same thing? Explain to us why the stubbornness about continuing to take as many threes. I know many of them were open, but what are you thinking as this thing's playing out? What do you think Finchy was thinking? I'm thinking the same thing you were thinking. You're sitting there. Oftentimes when I watch a game, I just think, kind of go back to pickup rules. If you miss 15, 20 outside shots, get to the paint, attack the rim. I thought we did such a good job attacking the rim. I mean, I think at one point we were something like 10 for 11 in the paint. And we got great looks. And one of the biggest shots of the game was Mike Conley's corner three.
That's true.
Which was huge to that point. I think you can't be so dogmatic. And the problem with the 3-point shot is there's such a possibility for a huge variance. Right? Sure. You can be a great shooting team and just not find the shot. So I thought last night, despite our historic apathy for beyond the arc, we were in the paint a lot. We were moving the ball, and we were getting making the defense shift and getting really good looks. But I would think the same thing as you, especially when we get to the penalty.
Right. Yes.
You kind of feel they're not the biggest team, and we felt like there was a chance to kind of exploit that lack of size at times. But yeah, I'm pretty calm during games, but when we missed our 100th straight 3-pointer, the calmness was starting to dissipate.
Understandably so. I think at one point in the game, on 2-point shots, you guys were 16 for 18. To your point,
really?
Which is just absurd, obviously, in this world, as you know, which speaks to the good shots that you were getting. Now, some of that was Rudy, obviously, at the rim, but that was the overall number, I think, was 16 for 18. I want to go back to the opener of the series, obviously, which was you guys, to get, I think, everybody's attention. Obviously, you dominated in that game. And I'm wondering if you buy the notion that might have been an eye-opener for the team itself, because the last memory we have of the club from the playoffs last year was the Dallas series, which didn't go the way you wanted it. Luka was traumatizing. I mean, he's a killer, and he played in that series like he was a killer. And I'm not saying your team is afraid to play him, but is there something to we not only win that game, we dominate that game to that degree. Whatever sort of leftover baggage there was from that, regardless of Luka's individual numbers, is we can play with these guys. We, in fact, can punish these guys. What do you think?
I think there's a tremendous faith internally that we can make a real run. If you look at our record over the last 25 games, we're as good as anybody.
Yeah.
We had the stinker in the second half against the zone in Milwaukee. But we've resembled a contender for several months now. Our biggest hiccup, obviously, has been clutch basketball, which is a huge part of winning games. But if you kind of analytically, if you look at some things we've been able to accomplish, the other teams have done that are all 60-win teams. But last year, the Dallas series, I think we led like 79% of the time in the first 3 games. They literally changed a basketball rule because of the Kyrie foul on Jaden.
Right, yeah.
Unable to be overturned. So even though we lost 4-1, and the final game, Luka just kind of stepped in the throat, we didn't feel like we were overmatched. Mm-hmm. So there's some things we could clean up and do better. And who knows if that confidence is misplaced or it's just, we're blindly optimistic internally. But our group has a tremendous belief and resolve that why not us? Why can't we make a run? And again, the coaches were just fantastic. Finchie, Corliss Williamson was great, helping the game plan and stuff. So I can't give the whole staff enough credit for having our guys ready to play. I thought our guys executed the game plan to a T, and we beat two surefire Hall of Famers, and again, maybe the best player of all time, which was really neat.
How much? We're speaking with Wolves president of basketball operations, Tim Connelly. Edwards does give out the sense to us outside your sphere that he does revel in that. That there's not only is there no fear, that he revels in the idea of, okay, knocking off the players, the legends that he knocked off last year, first and second round. And again, that he wants all of that. That's part of what separates him, what kind of sets him apart. What do you think?
He loves to compete, and it's always good-natured. I mean, the minute the game's over,
right? He's
not one of those guys that stays angry. He's an ultra-competitive guy, and it's what drives him. He thinks he's a great ping pong player. Nick, one of his best friends, when they get in arguments about how good a baseball player could be, I mean, he really believes it. It's not fake bravado. It's bravado to the truest sense. And he also, I think, kind of not that into being famous. I know he has a million commercials, but he really just wants to compete. He wants to be around his teammates, wants to be around his friends and family. And competition was most drives him. He's not trying to be a brand.
Yeah.
He's not trying to create this huge off-court persona. He just loves to hoop and loves to compete. So I think it's a really neat thing. I mean, Game 4 in Target Center was the loudest I've ever heard in an arena. And when him and LeBron got into their shoving match, they're very close. It was awesome. It gave me goosebumps to watch guys who are that talented compete at that level, and it just means so much to him. So yeah, he loves it. He looks forward to it, and he really enjoys kind of being the underdog as well.
Were you shocked you got the reversal on the foul call on the overhead angle, which was pretty clear? But a lot of people were saying they ain't going to call that on LeBron. You kidding me? That you're not going to get that reversal. Were you surprised you got it?
I thought, I'm terrible at guessing. I thought initially I thought it was a pretty obvious foul, and I thank God for that camera in the sky.
Yes,
the other ones were pretty inconclusive. But yeah, I mean, it's generally when Ant reacts like that, he got fouled. Now to the poor ref's defense, these guys react like that for every whistle. Yes. Every time they foul, they go to Finchie and twirl their fingers to review it. But knowing how strong Ant is, and he turned the corner, I thought it'd be pretty hard to get a clean swipe, even from a guy as awesome as LeBron. It's a beautiful.
It was obviously a key moment in the game. Quickly, let's talk a little bit about Julius Randle, who I thought had a terrific series. And I think the last time you were on, we talked a little bit about his transition post coming back from injury. But it struck me that if you go back to when you made the deal, a lot of people were shocked. There were a lot of people in this town saying, no way, you can't. Towns is the best player in the deal. You can't do it. I got persuaded, maybe in part by you, talking to a couple other people about what this could potentially mean, that there were also obviously some financial implications. And the biggest for me was, all right, you're good, but you're kind of finessey maybe. Maybe it does add a little power and grit. Then it seemed to be a tough fit for a while. It took a while to get to that place. And now I feel like we are seeing, maybe it's the difference between the regular season and the postseason. I feel like now, Tim, we're seeing exactly what I thought the vision, or maybe your vision, might be. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You make it traded so hard, and I think it's worked out well for both teams. I was actually FaceTime Carl the other day after his huge shots he hit for their big win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, they're both really, really, really good players. And we did it for numerous reasons, not just Julius, but Dante and additional depth. We thought, depth's going to be invaluable in this new kind of CBA landscape. And we did think that Julius's playmaking and his physicality was something that we lacked last year. We've got some bite. And it's not just Julius. I mean, Dante last night,
yes,
had 2 or 3 open field tackles, and they were well planned, and they weren't dirty, but it was physical basketball.
Yep.
And Dante, I thought, while he didn't shoot the ball well, he does so many little things that impact winning. So, again, you and I talk about it on and off there. you're just guessing. We thought it might work. At times it's been really clunky. Right now we feel good about it. A week from now we could be on the wrong side of the game and not feel good about it. But we were pretty convicted that the players we were getting were super talented and could fit in with our group. And certainly we knew that they were really good guys and they were about the right things.
I wonder also if you're comfortable with, I saw lots been written about this now. You win game 1, they come back and win game 2. And there was a lot of reaction from the Lakers at the time, from the reporters who covered them, saying, yeah, the Lakers noticed how hard the Wolves players seemed to celebrate that first game. They heard some of the comments in the tunnel, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we've evened them up and we've shown them that added a little bit of juice to us as well. There's that age-old question about what is fair game for a team to do in terms of emotionally enjoying a victory, or what kind of juice that might give the opponent if you're celebrating too hard too soon. What's your opinion on that whole thing?
It's funny. I didn't know that was a thing until today.
I didn't either. Yeah.
When we won game 1, I thought our guys were really calm. We've been there before. After last year's success, we got a long way to go. Even last night, I don't think it was especially raucous locker room. We have greater aspirations than being a one round and out team. I don't know. They're the playoffs. These guys work so hard. As long as they're respectful and they represent the organization well, I'm not going to govern how they celebrate. But I don't. That was a weird one to me because I was there when the guys walked off the court. It was not a team that was going nuts.
I think, sometimes it's a little bit, it becomes convenient a little bit after the fact as well. This text just came in a little while ago. Tell Tim this is Devin, his son, and Jaden, his friend, and we are listening.
I hope I'm not getting catfished by fake kids.
That's what I was wondering. I don't think. I mean, they texted in. So
did you tell them we have basketball practice in 45 minutes?
Wow. 45?
Dad could use some type of caffeine.
Oh, my. Yeah, I'm sure that's indeed the case. All right, so you want home field, or do you want to play the less accomplished team in the next round?
I want game 7, quadruple overtime. I mean, at this point, when we looked at the draw, all these teams are so good.
Yep.
There's no safe harbor, and to do what we want to do, you have to play and hopefully beat really, really good teams. We're fortunate we're gonna have a little bit of rest. Obviously, the Target Center's been electric. Game 4 was the loudest I've ever heard a building. I mean, that first half was maybe the most fun half of basketball I've ever seen. Last year we laid a bunch of eggs at home.
Yes, that's true.
So this year we're a bit better, but we were not a great home court team. I think we really fed off the energy of the home arena this series. Last year we won 2 series, but we didn't close out either one in Target Center. We talked about that, how it would be to actually close the series in Target Center. So we'd certainly love home court just because we think we have a huge advantage and the fans are so awesome. But get to game 7. Hopefully it's the longest game 7 of all time, and we're well rested. We can get back out there on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that all indeed makes good sense. And you get a nice rest, right? You do give not that you got a lot of hurt guys or anything, but I got to believe that everybody wants a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, we're not hurt. We're all banged up. I mean, LeBron's 270 pounds, and
coming at you,
load and the intensity and just the back and forth. So anytime you can get a couple extra days, and again, our coaching staff is as good as any coaching staff in the league. The more days they have to prepare, the better. So we'll get in the gym tomorrow, work some things out, and depending on this evening's game, either know our opponent or get ready to watch Game 7.
Do you know when I knew that you guys were in very good shape in this series, for sure? It was last night, and it was when the Lakers go to the bench and they bring in poor Maxi Kleber. And nothing against him. He is what he is. I'm sure he's a fine guy, but I said, man, if they're at the point where they're thinking, well, we're just going to throw this against the wall because nothing else is working, and at least in terms of anybody that kind of plays big or is kind of big, I think he last played in late January, I said Conley and the Wolves are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, they made a huge in-season acquisition, and I think they were aware it was just the first step of something much better. And Rob is really, really good at his job, and this offseason he'll ensure the roster has some of the pieces they're missing. I thought JJ was fantastic for a first-year coach, no experience. I thought it could not have been better. But, again, we feel confident that we have 8 starters, and then we have a bunch of other guys that we're not scared to put in the game. We have several young guys that have kind of shown their capabilities. So we thought, and we had fingers crossed, that maybe the depth could be something that would work out in our favor, and thankfully it did.
The other thing that, I'm keeping you too long here, but the other thing that I liked a lot, and I think you guys have been calling for it for a long time, is certainly in game 1 and then not so much in 2, but then it picked up against some. You guys ran some. You got out on the break. You got ahead of them. I think their legs do tend to get tired a little bit. I mean, Luka does not love to run. LeBron is unbelievable, but he's 40 and playing heavy minutes. To me, you guys have the players now especially to be able to run. How conscious were you of that, and how much of an advantage is that you think that you can use?
Yeah, we've really been on the guys. We have a young athletic group that doesn't run enough. We have too many guys that run back to the ball instead of getting ahead of the ball. And again, the coaches have been, specifically with this series, what the Lakers do a great job is they'll throw ahead. So, they'll create a mismatch, and LeBron or Luka will throw, and you have Rui against a little in the post. So them playing faster forced us to be, I think, a little more aware with our transition defense, and oftentimes the reaction to that is you tend to play a bit faster. Again, fantastic game plan, and I think it's something we can continue to build off. When you have Jay McDaniels, you have Julius Randle, you have Anthony, and you have a defensive rebounder like Rudy, we should be a good fast break team. We should be a team that creates easy opportunities in transition.
No question.
And I think it's something that we're going to continue to get better and better with.
Are you staying?
Staying?
Are you staying in your job? Are you staying here? There's a million rumors about you. Denver wants you back. I've heard one story that had you linked with Atlanta. You're obviously, the longer this team goes, the deeper it goes, the more in demand you're going to be. You got the ownership thing we think now resolved. I guess technically there still has to be an approval. So, can you assure Wolves fans who've gotten used to having the security of Tim Connelly here in charge, you're going to be in charge?
There's been, I don't read anything, but my friends always kind of bust my chops about it, because there's no truth to any of those things. I could not be happier. Working with unbelievably great people, from the players, the coaches, the ownership, Alex, Mark, Len, Becky, everyone's been fantastic. So we're very, very happy where we are.
Thanks as always for the extended time. We'll be in touch as hopefully this thing rolls on. Thanks as always, man.
No fun parting questions. It's all work today.
Well, I gave you. You
got basketball practice. We need to get you to practice.
I'll get in trouble if I hold you up for that, I guess.
Hey, and I'm in this terrible traffic. This construction is a beast right now.
Well, here's John Krasinski quite well, obviously. So he comes back from the last Los Angeles trip, not this one, but the original one, saying, I'll never complain about anything in the Twin Cities again after dealing with 6 days of Los Angeles traffic. It's like, calm down a little bit. He doesn't, obviously, you get around in L.A. on surface roads, don't you? Stay off the highway. That's the key to moving in L.A.
Oh, it's hard, though, where we were staying. We had to get on the highway to go to practice.
Oh, maybe that was it.
This traffic's pretty bad right now in Minnesota, but it's like Tuesday at 9 o'clock for LA. It's nothing compared to
Did you bring back, by the way, any jackets from Rodeo Drive? Did you do any shopping?
I picked up a fur coat. Funny, yes.
Outstanding.
Sale of fur coat.
Nice.
No, absolutely not.
No.
The Rodeo Drive is, I perused the shops.
Right.
My wife was with me. It's the most overpriced couple blocks in the world.
Well, you can afford it. Come on.
I would not be able to live myself.
Dude, yeah. You're a practical guy deep down, aren't you?
I don't know what I am, but I'm not spending $6,000 for a jacket.
Well played. Thanks again. Good luck at practice. We'll talk
guys,
soon.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's the words of Tim Connelly, the president of basketball operations for your Minnesota.
It's time to make sports betting in Minnesota legal. It's a win-win-win. A win for consumers, a win for youth sports, a win for charities. Consumers would have more protection against offshore unregulated websites. Revenue would stay in Minnesota and be invested in youth sports and provide a tax cut for charities. Legalizing sports betting has bipartisan support as well as support from Minnesota's tribes and horse tracks. Let your legislators know the time for waiting is over and join 39 other states in protecting consumers, ensuring age verification, and benefiting Minnesota. Visit sportsbettingalliance.org to learn more. Prepared and paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Minnesota Timberwolves. Man. 612 guy listening to our discussion with the, actually 651 guy, our discussion with Tim Connelly, writes, the conversation should be more about how bad J.J. Redick was. Well, let's see, actually. Maybe this text came in earlier. What's the time of the text? Oh, I apologize. It was actually 5 o'clock. I thought he was reacting. You're not going to get... there may be a GM willing to go down that road. There are a lot of ex-GMs and coaches who go down. In fact, George Karl via Twitter basically did, I think the tweet was something like, well, I guess maybe coaching experience matters after all.
That's true.
But Conley's not, he's a high road guy on that stuff, no matter what in fact, he brought up Redick. And look, I'm not done with Redick. I don't think you could, he did do a good job this season, but let's be honest about this, okay? These guys are all big boys and girls, are they not? You're paid well. You're coaching the Los Angeles Lakers, right? So once you get to the postseason, you're going to have everything examined and scrutinized. It doesn't matter whether you're a rookie or whether you're Tom Thibodeau and you've coached for 100 years. Yeah, you're going to get. Doesn't always mean the second guesses are accurate, but it means it comes with the territory. And frankly, when you panic to the degree that you play a player who, as I said, hadn't played since late January, it does smack at desperation. When you take out the only, I guess, hint of a big man and you banish him to the bench to the degree you do, you could say, well, he doesn't earn a lot more playing time. You say, well, you're cutting your nose to spite your face. This isn't the time to make those kinds of statements. You have to at least give yourself a chance. And to me, it's fair to say that Jackson Hayes represented their best chance to at least occasionally have some activity. And, by the way, even an occasional alley-oop option for Luka, who, as he proved with the Mavericks last year, needed it. But it's the yin and the yang of the postseason, right? Everything does get scrutinized, in some cases to a nauseating degree, but it's part of the fun of it. It is part of, well, we should have done this instead of that. How much of that is fair? How much of that is an easy second guess after the fact? But when you do stuff that's historic, when you play 5 players for the first time in forever, basically, in the modern era, an entire half, even if you don't have a great bench, people are going to be talking about it. And he didn't probably help himself with snapping at the reporter pregame. Right. Which a lot of people... Now, the question, you could argue, was a little bit Jackal-like. It was rigged, you could say. It was but to a certain extent, you could then say, well, Redick took the bait. You know, he swallowed it whole. He couldn't have taken the bait any more thoroughly than he did, and that kind of overreaction and defensiveness makes one wonder, well, maybe he does feel a little vulnerability. Maybe he does feel like, well, I am a little bit on the run here in terms of what I have done. So I don't think coaching was the difference in this series, but I do think down the stretch on a couple of key points that the kid coach was utterly and completely outcoached, because whatever chance his team had I think he actually minimized it by at least 2 of the moves he made. And we'll never know. It's easy for me to say that if he hadn't played just 5 guys down the stretch, because the 5 guys thing was a combination of what that did to them in that game, but then also ultimately, potentially, what it might have done to them the next game with the quick turnaround, right? It's Friday, Sunday.
Yeah, Charles basically said, Sunday was the game where they did the 24.
Well, that's true.
But it was still, it was still a couple. Because we went a little long, I want to do bonus bucks real quick before we talk JJ. BigDeck.com, National Cash Contest. Final keyword of the night is money. Go to KFAN.com, keyword money. You know I'm a JJ guy. I like the idea. I like the concept.
Yes.
He does have a lot to learn out of this series, I think, just because he definitely panicked, and he was overmatched in terms of personnel.
He was.
After the big 2.
He has the lesser team.
And he didn't handle that very well. And what I think got him sideways is then people started questioning. Yes, it had been a nice Hollywood ride, right? Because they're kind of going through the season.
Well, they're calling him, that's the other thing. They're calling him Pat Riley Jr. before he's even really done anything.
And then you get Luka, and then you have a stretch where you're really good, and you end up getting the 3rd seed, and everybody's picking you to go deep. And then you find out it's not going to be that easy. The Wolves are going to have a say in this as well. And I just think ignoring the obvious, even before Game 5 of after he played all the guys, they said, did you see any fatigue? And he says, no. We've scored 19, 20, and 13 in the fourth quarter. That's just a trend. Well, it's because you're tired, man. Like, you're tired. There's a reason why. You're wearing down. It's okay to say that. Yeah, we've got to find a way to manage some minutes. We are dealing with a 40-year-old LeBron. Luka was sick. Last night, Luka's got a back injury. We haven't had the longest rotation. There's ways we got to help guys out. I agree. The question was that because anybody that's watched anything knows how much these head coaches lean on their staffs.
Yes.
Right? I mean, and he's got Scott Brooks, former Wolf, Nate McMillan. And as I mentioned, he's got this other Rube who I think is too intense. I think he winds up JJ.
Could be.
And I sat behind him, as you know.
Yeah.
And that dude is up more than the head coach. He's yelling stuff. He's the first guy out there. He's a maniac. And JJ obviously listens to him a lot, but he's tightly wound. And so I think all of that stuff just kind of, but to act like he did last night was ridiculous. Yeah. And you mentioned 30 for 30s earlier. I've been paranoid the whole series about all the different 30 for 30s that are being written. The Maxey one, the Luka flu game. Mm-hmm. I was looking for Paul Pierce's wheelchair last night to get Luka on and off the court.
Right.
LeBron, too, runs into, I think, Dante, limps off. They act like he's never coming back. He was back 30 seconds later. I was looking for JJ setting the tone in the pregame 30 for 30. That was the edge that the Lakers played with. The edge that JJ brought to Dean Blevins in Los Angeles, set the tone, and the Lakers followed suit.
Here's the other thing that I think makes the head coach look overmatched is the first quarter of the game. The first quarter, you're down 3-1. You're back home. This is your season. And I didn't feel or see anything from the Lakers that said they're into this.
We're ready.
They may go down. They may be not as good, but they're going to get, they're in this. They are in our shorts. They are all over us. And I didn't see that. Did you?
No, and that stunned me.
Yeah.
It stunned me because I think the Wolves led by 9 at the end of one.
Correct.
They led by 9 and they led by 10 in the first and second quarter. And I just remember being completely bitter that the lead was only 9.
Yes,
because it felt like it should have been 15 at least, because the Lakers, unless I did see some people say, well, maybe they just tried to lull the Wolves to sleep a little bit with that zone and just kind of get into the game and conserve some energy. And maybe that's true. Maybe they did try to do that. But I was thinking all day yesterday we were going to see Game 6 Cleveland against Boston LeBron going all the way back to 2012, I think.
Well,
barrel-chested, running through guys, and we just never saw that.
I don't want to go too far down the MJ road, but let's be clear about something. If you go back to the played the entire half game, that was what, Game 4?
Yes,
that was the Sunday game. I think LeBron took 2 shots in the fourth quarter. One of them was that long 3 when they were up 2, which would have been a kill shot if he'd made it, but it was not a particularly good shot. And I don't even remember the other one. Most of the time, he was basically hiding in the corner. Jordan ain't doing that. Jordan might miss 12 straight shots, but I don't care what age. Now, you could say, well, Jordan at 40 wasn't as good as LeBron, and he wasn't.
That's the comeback.
That's the comeback, which is fair. But at any point, while he is still a playoff factor, same with Kobe, quite frankly. They're going to go down taking a bunch of shots. And that was the part that was curious to me, that LeBron wouldn't have summoned up enough to say, this is me. I've got to be more involved in that offensively. We'll never know. And it may not have mattered. And again, maybe it's a compliment to the Wolves that they over a period of time just took the life out of them to such a degree that even when they started the game, maybe there was nothing their head coach could do. That to a certain extent they knew the position that they were in, and that the Wolves have too many people, too many different ways to go at them. And Game 5 is sort of the whole thing in miniature. That different days, different games in this series, it was different people who led the team in scoring. And the beauty of the Wolves is you can say you don't really have three great go-to guys, but what you have in any given game, different guys who might lead the team in scoring and might end up being pretty much the difference in the game. And that can have a wearing effect, even on a team. It's great having two superstars, but one of them is fading a little bit and is older, and the other is, fairly one-dimensional in that he's not going to be able to give you anything defensively as good as he is offensively, and they just, after that, they don't really have all that much. Let's stay on schedule. Here's the update on Sam Mitchell. We went longer because I thought it was going good with Tim Connelly. Good opportunity to chat with him. The timing was perfect. So I just talked to Sam on the phone. He's not bitter. We're going to wedge him into tomorrow's show. He'll be a guest on tomorrow's program because we're out early today. Let's get a break in, continue to get it caught up, and maybe we will review some texts that have come in. I want texts not only from the basketball community, but from the hockey community as well, because tonight the Wild are in a very precarious situation. Lose, and we are lamenting another first-round exit.
And Russo will join you from the X in 15 minutes.
It's time to make sports betting in Minnesota legal. It's a win-win-win. A win for consumers, a win for youth sports, a win for charities. Consumers would have more protection against offshore unregulated websites. Revenue would stay in Minnesota and be invested in youth sports and provide a tax cut for charities. Legalizing sports betting has bipartisan support, as well as support from Minnesota's tribes and horse tracks. Let your legislators know the time for waiting is over, and join 39 other states in protecting consumers, ensuring age verification, and benefiting Minnesota. Visit sportsbettingalliance.org to learn more. Prepared and paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.
Steven.
I'd also just like to say that Julius Randle was absolutely huge in this series, man. Another guy who's had a lot of unfair criticism in his career, and he was outstanding at both ends of the floor. And we don't win this series without Julius. Was consistently great every single night, just doing a lot of little things as well as timely things.
A pretty hoarse Finchie after the Game 5 victory last night about Julius Randle. You'll notice that Tim Connelly did not seem to mind our well-timed collisions with several members of the Los Angeles Lakers of Anaheim.
Including the two most important.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Connelly also told us, when I brought up, are you staying? What's the deal? You're linked with every job, big money, the whole bit. I don't read anything, but my friends always kind of bust my chops because there's no truth to any of those things. I could not be happier working with unbelievably great people, from the players, the coaches, and the ownership. Alex, Mark, Glenn, Becky, everyone's been fantastic. We are very, very happy where we are. So we'll see if that'll, put the whole thing to rest. I will say this. I will be surprised if he's going anywhere right now. I think he's got a good thing going. They're going to take care of him financially this offseason. He's got that, that cool little escape clause that was basically extended from a year ago. And now, if the Wolves get swept in the next round, will we feel differently? Possibly, but I don't think any of that's going to matter. I think he's got a pretty good gig. He's got a pretty good core group of players. So eventually, the only thing it puts to bed is the announcement of a contract extension. But he certainly seemed to want to declare pretty publicly that this is the place he is going to be. Twins lose in 10 innings.
Saw that.
In a game that was delayed extensively by rain in Cleveland. We score 1 in the top of the 10th. They score 2 in the bottom of the 10th inning. So Cleveland, after we destroy them in the opener of the series, right, they win. They take 3 out of 4 from us. So we had that little mini surge, but in part, that might have had something to do with the teams that we were playing. Looks like we left 12 runners on base. And I seen earlier in the game, we squandered a couple of opportunities to score as well. So Twins do lose a day game that was rain delayed and ended, I don't think, that long ago. 4-3 was the final there. Jeremy writes, did I miss Sam Mitchell? No, we had to call an audible because Connelly joined us a little later than originally anticipated, and we went longer with him than I originally anticipated. And as we got past that interview, we had some breaks to make up, and because we're out at 6:10 rather than the usual 6:30, we just said, let's not squeeze it, let's not force it, all in good time. Sam was fine with he understands how this job works.
He's in showbiz. He
is definitely in showbiz. So Sam has agreed to join us at some point on tomorrow's show, and I think he's got some good stories that I think you'll enjoy regarding. Even he had a really interesting story going all the way back. Remember when the big debate was, will the Wolves take Okafor or Karl Anthony Towns?
I do remember
that one.
I remember talking to Flip about that all summer. Yeah. He had
a great story I had not heard before that goes all the way back to that, because we talked some about I continue to follow Towns because it's the local angle now in New York, and there's a sort of weird dynamic there where Jalen Brunson is so protected there, in part because he's been so damn good. I mean, the guy's like 5'2", and he scores in the fourth quarter at will. He's a tough kid, but when I watched the Knicks this season, I said, why'd you trade for Cat? He does half the time in the fourth quarter. Brunson never even looks at him, just pounds the ball, and eventually is good at scoring. But in any case, my thought was, when people say, well, Cat disappeared again, I said, well, he can do that, but how about maybe the point guard look at him? How about running a play for him in the fourth quarter every once in a while? And that's another subject we might get into. But I know Sam, he promises he's not going to crow about before the series on this show, picking the Wolves to win.
Dan,
now, he asked
what
me,
did I tell you, Dan?
Did he say on our show Wolves in 5? I don't remember him saying that.
No,
but he might have.
I'll podcast tonight and maybe listen.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
But he thought it was a very good matchup, and he thought they should win.
Yes.
He did think that.
He did. He definitely did, for sure. And we all did, I think, to a degree. Except, well, I guess there was one ESPN guy who picked the Wolves. But I think it was like 13 or 14-1.
Yeah, not in the writers category. May have been one of the contributors.
Yeah.
But not in the experts and the writers.
Davey. Somebody said Sam will be golfing tomorrow. Well, yeah, but he golfs, I think, pretty much every day.
A lot.
But there's still usually time to get him in there. We'll probably try to get Tom Crean back in the mix next week because now we know there's going to be another round.
Craigers will be in town, we think.
That's true. He did pledge that next round he'd be coming, right?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Huh. Very good. All right, let's make this a top-of-the-hour break. Let's check in at the X, where the Wild have a date with, is it destiny or is it their playoff death? We'll find out, see what Russo has, what his vibe is for tonight's game. He is coming.
It's time to make sports betting in Minnesota legal. It's a win-win-win. A win for consumers, a win for youth sports, a win for charities. Consumers would have more protection against offshore unregulated websites. Revenue would stay in Minnesota and be invested in youth sports and provide a tax cut for charities. Legalizing sports betting has bipartisan support as well as support from Minnesota's tribes and horse tracks. Let your legislators know the time for waiting is over and join 39 other states in protecting consumers, ensuring age verification, and benefiting Minnesota. Visit sportsbettingalliance.org to learn more. Prepared and paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.
Coming up around the corner.
Final segment of the show tonight, the show wrap, brought to you as always by American Pressure, commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper to bumper show wrap.
Thank you to Aaron Gleeman, who joined us in studio for a baseball/basketball conversation between 3:30 and 4:40 or so. In addition, we want to thank Tim Connelly, president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shortly after the Wolves plane landed back here in the Twin Cities, he joined us for a good solid half hour of reaction discussion regarding the Wolves eliminating the Lakers and moving on to the second round. And Russo Radio is going to give us a quick hit now from the ex-press box. Russo, the hockey community's feelings, I think, on this show have been hurt because they feel like there's been way too much attention devoted to the Wolves. And this is really not a conspiracy. This is about performance and about achievement. I mean, the Wolves, for the second straight year, by the way, the first time in their history, are out of the first round. And the Wild have to get there. Sooner or later, if you want the coverage ratcheted up to that next level, that's what has to happen. So can the Wild take the next step to get a little closer to that eventuality tonight?
I think so. And good evening, Dan. Thanks for squeezing me in. Fallness and Micheletti said it's all basketball all the time on this station.
Well,
they
won. So. They won the series. What do people want us to do?
What did you think of the Wolves game last night?
I actually loved it. I watched every second of it.
Yeah, it was actually a good game.
At the beginning of the third quarter, I'm like, what are they doing?
Yes.
But
including the general manager said the same thing. Yeah. He was yelling as well.
Yeah. Gobert was awesome, and I was really proud that Johnny Athletic, John Krasinski, took my advice. I tweeted at him that he should write about Gobert, and that he did. So you see, I have an elite basketball mind.
That's leadership. That's what you
exactly.
do. That's exactly what you do.
I played editor last night. Yeah, I think they could win. Dorofiev's out for Vegas. That's a big loss for them. A lot will depend on if Gustafsson is truly healthy. He is obviously starting tonight. They're going with the same exact lineup as we're seeing in warm-ups now, not even an extra body on the ice. And so, look, at some point, you got to change the result. You can't just, if they lose tonight, you can't just say, well, all 6 games were competitive and we weren't smoked like everybody thought that we would be, and say, have some solace on that. I think they've played really well in this series. They've had some really bad luck, obviously, a couple toss-up games here in overtime, the last 2, but the reality is you lost it. Horrendous offside mistake by a veteran that should know better.
Yeah.
And that's why they're in this position again. But this is their third straight chance to try to, win a game here, and they've got to do it.
So on Gustafsson, is it like a flu bug that keeps affecting him, or what exactly is going on with him? Where
I don't know what. All I can tell you is that what we ascertained after the game is that he let the staff know and Fleury know right before the game that he was not doing well, not feeling well. Okay. He gutted through the first 2 periods. And then obviously something happened during that second intermission, not to be getting graphic, but I did see him after the game, and I was telling somebody just now, when we were interviewing Boldy, the back door of the locker room opened up and he was sitting on the ground guzzling Gatorade.
Okay.
So clearly he was dealing with some sort of stomach bug or lethargic nature or whatever. I don't know, but to obviously put Fleury in that position. Obviously something big was going on, but he was playing tremendously the first 2 periods, so it was definitely a curveball. The Wild did just an amazing job of protecting the house and protecting Fleury. Didn't give up a shot for the first 13:43 of that third period, and then only 3 in that third. Faber made a couple unbelievable defensive plays. And then, unfortunately, in overtime, they have a breakdown defensively, and they wound up losing the game.
Did you any line changes at all? Did you say, or is it status
we're about
quo?
to see it.
Okay.
I said in the press room, my prediction would be they go back to their Game 3 second line, and that would be Foligno, Zuccarello, and Hartman. And I'm almost positive I'm right, just the way they're lining up. So that would be the one change. And then Johansson goes to the third line. I would hope with Rossi, but I think it's going to be Goudreau and Nyquist. And then probably the same fourth line, but we're about to see in 2 seconds.
Is this will this be a self-starting crowd tonight, or is this one of those nights again where there's that fear and loathing, like that bad anticipation, or do you think they'll from the get-go, try to actually, motivate the club with a great deal of noise and support?
I have a feeling it's going to be a little. I think the Wild are going to have to drag them into the game,
right.
and that's no rip on Wild fans. You'd obviously they're going to be loud during warm-ups and things like that, but the Wild are going to have to give them a reason to cheer because look, there is a nervousness, and you and I have talked about this before. Is that this is a different season. You can't always talk about the last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. But the reality is that the fans here, especially after seeing what the Wolves did last night for the second year in a row, they want to see this team go on a run here, and so there is going to be a nervousness tonight. And I think there's just a concern that this team played so well the last two games and lost both those games in overtime. So I definitely think that there's going to be some trepidation.
Why are we the early game tonight, by the way? This is great. It's got to be a great change of pace for you, too.
I mean, the Oilers and the Kings, probably a West Coast, that's probably
true.
what it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really interesting. Like the Wild are right after the game, if they win, they're not only going to Vegas, but they are packed for the long haul, right?
Ooh,
because they're going to have to go from Vegas if they win Game 7 right to Edmonton or L.A. So this is going to be, as Marcus Foligno said yesterday, this is going to be what they're hoping is the start of their latest long road trip that they've had plenty of this year.
Thank you, Russo Radio. Enjoy tonight. We'll be watching.
Absolutely.
And reading. Thank you.
Take care.
That is from the press box, Russo Radio, with a couple of last-minute thoughts on tonight's game, which is an early start by certainly Minnesota Wild standards. So the pregame show, you're going to hear the Spinners music here shortly, and the pregame show is going to follow presently. I think you said the actual opening faceoff might be closer to like 6:40-ish.
6:40 puck drop.
In that regard. So that's only, that in of itself, even with that extension, is only 30 minutes out. Is it true, by the way, I'm getting a lot of talk that response that the national discussion on the Lakers series with the Wolves has already shifted to more of what the Lakers didn't do rather than giving the Wolves proper credit for actually taking it out of the Lakers. That the number one reason the Lakers struggled wasn't just simply on them. It was the Wolves have played really well and basically dismantled them.
First of all, I still had Fallness and Halvey in queue, and they loved the fact that we went right back to basketball after Russo.
Why do you think I did it?
One breath.
Why do you think I did it?
One breath.
Yeah.
I love that, too. And they can't even talk to us anymore, and I can't even talk to them because I already had to reroute some stuff. But, yeah, damn right. I didn't even hear the question. I was listening to them.
I don't even remember what it was.
But it was, there was very little. There's a couple guys that do make the actual story the story. Like Windy does it, Brian Windhorst.
Yes, he does.
He'll always say, the biggest story is Anthony Edwards. Mm-hmm. But now I'm going to answer the question that Molly asked me on First Take.
I'm going to play the hits.
Whatever it is, because that's what the show's about. So, yeah, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
By the way, Wild fan line tonight after the game as well.
With Max?
No, it's not Howlin' with the Homies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
It would be. He could do it.
Well, actually, yeah. Why didn't Fallness bring him on? Be a great pairing, wouldn't it?
It'd be. Well, they've played Password together, and that was a great pairing, too.
It goes. Yeah, might be something to think about. We're back reviewing either the end of the Wild season or that they've extended their playoff lives at least for one more game. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. Minnesota Wild hockey is next right here in the Fan.
It's time to make sports betting in Minnesota legal. It's a win-win-win. A win for consumers, a win for youth sports, a win for charities. Consumers would have more protection against offshore unregulated websites. Revenue would stay in Minnesota and be invested in youth sports and provide a tax cut for charities. Legalizing sports betting has bipartisan support as well as support from Minnesota's tribes and horse tracks. Let your legislators know the time for waiting is over and join 39 other states in protecting consumers, ensuring age verification, and benefiting Minnesota. Visit sportsbettingalliance.org to learn more. Prepared and paid for by the Sports Betting Alliance.